if you subscribe to any sort of Stoic philosophy or anything like that, they always talk about there's the event, and then there's your interpretation of the event that gives it negative, positive, or neutral meaning to that event. And our feelings are oftentimes our body or mind's initial reaction, you know, just the crude, brutal reaction to whatever the event happened, and how you happen to be feeling that day will largely, or maybe the severity of the event itself will largely contribute to the way that you feel about it. How much of that is good, like letting your emotions come out, letting your body feel the way that it should feel, versus how much of it is giving away too much control to outside environments that we can't control, I guess is kind of the question. Like, because I almost have a problem with thinking that, like, well, if I'm feeling a certain way, that's probably for a reason, and I probably shouldn't just immediately be like, no, that's bad, that's a bad feeling, feel something different, generate this other feeling, because it's on you, you can decide to be happy or whatever. It's like, well, so I think it's probably pretty good to experience the whole spectrum of human emotion within some sort of moderation. I guess I just don't know how to think about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll go as far to say not only do emotions, give us our human experience, they animate our life. There's value in them, right? When I feel angry, usually I'm getting a message that there's some violation. I'm feeling, like overstepped in some way. So our emotions contain information. So the last thing we want to do is keep them so below the surface that we're not aware they're happening, or try and strong arm, shame ourselves for having them, or strong arm them away. I mean, I think that is just a form of, very commonly used word is bypassing all of the same. Our goal is to make space to be present to our emotions, because there is value in them. Not only, again, do they color our life and allow us to feel and embody the experiences that we're having, they might be something we want to pay attention to in certain moments. They might be indicating when we need to shift our path or shift our behavior. The reality for most of us, though, is we don't know how to have that safe relationship. We don't know how to be a safe container for our own emotional experiences. We either suppress them, overwhelmingly, and never allow us to tune into the fact that they're still happening below the surface, or we just react from them and we don't have any space to build in that responsiveness. So ultimately, the goal is to be present, to learn how to tune in and to be aware of the moments, the people, the circumstances, and our interpretation of them, because what the most of us are doing is we're applying old stories to current events.
Mm.
So what we're feeling might not necessarily be an accurate reflection of what's happening, though if we don't, or if we turn our attention away from the reality that it's happening, we're just continuing to keep it alive in our bodies. So we can distract ourselves, but it doesn't mean that the energy of that past story isn't still the case. We
Yeah.
can be present, though, and determine whether or not that old story applies, which might allow us then to metabolize the emotion, shift out of that energetic feeling. And that's what most of us can then begin to do, not continue to live in the story of what happened, as I
Sure.
know I have done for decades of my life. I can rehash something that happened so long ago, right? And call up the same upset in this moment like it just happened yesterday. So now we can, again, see the role we're playing and continuing to live on these emotions. But just because they come from some older place, if they're happening in our body, they're real. So allowing them to happen, being present while they happen, maybe being intentional about how we can allow our body to, create grounding while they're happening if they're feeling overwhelming, or create relaxation, whatever it is that we need, we can be an assistant aid. But
Mm.
to speak to your point, we never want to suppress it, ignore it, or will it away, because it's going to live inside of us all the same.
Just because the story isn't true, it doesn't make the
Right.
feeling any less
Exactly.
valid. Yeah.
100%.